After Chloe left, the house felt empty and cold. I sat on the couch, staring at the ring she'd begged me to buy. The silence was deafening, but my thoughts were louder. I replayed her words over and over until they burned. She wasn't joking. She meant every word she said on that live stream. The more I thought about it, the more the puzzle pieces fit. Every small request. Every accident with her bills. Every time she cried about rent right after I got a raise. It wasn't coincidence. It was strategy. She'd been preparing her escape long before she was caught. I opened my laptop and started checking my bank records. Transfers, payments, dinners, gifts, gym memberships. Almost $5,000 gone in less than a year. And that didn't include groceries, trips, or gas. I wasn't her fiancée. I was her sponsor. My stomach turned as I realized how deep it went. She had planned it all emotionally, financially, socially. Every compliment was a tactic. Every "I love you" was an investment. And I had believed every single lie. I opened her social media. Her followers were talking about the stream. Some thought it was fake. Others called her a genius. The comments made me sick. She had turned my humiliation into entertainment. My phone buzzed with messages from friends asking if it was true. I didn't reply. There was no point explaining betrayal to people who hadn't lived it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the laptop screen lighting my face. I scrolled through old messages between us. So many sweet words now tasted like poison. "Someday we'll build our dream life together," she had written. Now I understood she meant her dream life, funded by me. I checked the dates on her messages and compared them to my paydays. It matched perfectly. Every emotional breakdown happened right after I got paid. Every apology came when she needed more money. I felt disgusted. Not just with her, but with myself for being blind. How could I miss the signs? She studied me like a project. She knew I was the type to protect, to fix, to forgive. And she weaponized that. By morning, my anger had turned into clarity. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to chase her or beg for closure. She built a plan to destroy me. Now I would build one to end her illusion. I gathered receipts, texts, screenshots, every piece of proof. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her how they're really played. But I wouldn't shout or scream. I'd be patient, precise, cold, the kind of revenge that doesn't fade overnight. I closed the laptop, staring into the dawn light. The sun was rising, and so was something new inside me. Something sharper than heartbreak. Something that whispered quietly, "She chose war. Now she'll get it." 2 days later, I found the laptop she left behind. It sat on the kitchen table, screen smudged, charger still plugged in. For a moment, I hesitated. But curiosity burned stronger than guilt. She had used my trust to build her empire of lies. So I opened it. Her password was still the same, my birthday. Irony never tasted so bitter. The desktop was neat, too neat with one folder standing out. It was labeled "Financial Plans." My heart sank as I clicked. Inside were spreadsheets, screenshots, and documents named like traps. Projected growth, savings timeline, divorce prep. Each file felt like a knife sliding deeper. There were photos of my pay stubs, my 401k statements, even my credit score. She had calculated exactly how much she could gain after 5 years. It wasn't love. It was business. I scrolled through more files and found her notes. Little details about me. Compliment his work ethic. Let him pay first. Talk about future together to build emotional bond. I felt sick. She had written my personality like a case study. Even my weaknesses were listed. Easily guilted, wants to protect, forgives too fast. It was like reading my own autopsy. Then I saw a folder named "Next Steps." Inside was a plan for social media growth, sponsorship contacts, and a budget. Half the expenses were labeled Ethan's contribution. She was literally planning my financial participation in her career. My hands trembled, but my mind was calm. This wasn't anger anymore. It was precision forming in real time. I saved everything to a flash drive and backed it up to the cloud. I knew I'd need proof for what was coming. Then I noticed something hidden deeper, a folder within a folder. It was named Private Notes. When I opened it, I almost stopped breathing. There were text logs with her friends, screenshots of group chats where she bragged about me. Just a few more months, and I'm set for life. He doesn't even ask about money. He's perfect. Her friends replied with laughing emojis and cheers. That was the moment I stopped seeing her as a person. She was a project manager of manipulation. Every moment we shared had been scripted. Even our proposal, she had noted it weeks before it happened. Act surprised, cry for effect. I stared at the words until my vision blurred. She had turned my love into a checklist. But what she didn't plan for was this. I was done being her fool. I copied the last file, closed the laptop, and sat in silence. I realized something powerful in that stillness. The best revenge isn't about rage. It's about control. She had taken everything from me, my trust, my peace, my pride. But she gave me one gift without realizing it. She taught me exactly how to destroy someone carefully. And I intended to return the lesson. I didn't confront her right away. Rage would have given her power again. Instead, I started building my own plan. Step 1 was documentation. I spent an entire weekend going through messages, emails, and receipts. Everything was sorted into folders, labeled by date and type. By Sunday night, I had built a timeline of every lie she told. From fake emergencies to emotional blackmail, it was all there. Each file was another piece of her downfall waiting to be placed. Then I reached out to my lawyer. I explained what she'd done, how she accessed my credit report without consent. He called it identity theft, plain and simple. I felt my first real sense of calm in weeks. We filed a formal report and drafted a cease and desist letter. If she wanted to play with legality, I'd play by the book. Next, I started thinking strategically. Chloe's power came from her image. People believed she was kind, disciplined, and authentic. But I had the receipts proving she was none of those things. So I began planting seeds, quietly, carefully. A text to an old friend of hers. Just be careful lending her money. A message to one of her coworkers. You might want to see what she said online. Nothing direct, nothing emotional. Just enough truth to start whispers. And whispers spread fast. Within days, I noticed subtle changes on her social media. Fewer comments. Followers asking strange questions. People beginning to doubt the image she worked so hard to create. Meanwhile, Chloe tried to reach me. Calls, texts, voicemails full of tears. I ignored them all. Every unanswered message was a small victory. She was losing control, and that was exactly the point. But I didn't stop there. I contacted a friend who worked for a supplement company she'd pitched to. They were about to sign a deal with her. I sent him a few screenshots, her live stream, her messages bragging about manipulation. No lies, just the truth. A week later, the partnership was gone. Chloe posted a vague story about false rumors and toxic people. Her engagement plummeted. I could almost feel her panic through the screen. Still, I stayed silent. The worst punishment for a narcissist is silence. Every time she tried to spin the story, I gave her nothing to react to. Instead, I kept moving pieces behind the scenes. Her friends began distancing themselves. Her followers started leaving. Her sponsors pulled back one by one. And I didn't have to lift my voice once. I wasn't shouting revenge. I was whispering it through the cracks of her perfect facade. By the end of the month, Chloe had gone from admired to doubted. Her brand was crumbling, her income shrinking, her mask slipping. She had built her fame on deception. Now, that same deception was eating her alive. And I was the quiet architect behind her collapse. Weeks passed, and the cracks in her perfect image became fractures. Chloe was losing followers faster than she could post apologies. Her sponsorships vanished one after another. The brands didn't want drama, they wanted distance. She posted long captions about being misunderstood. But the internet doesn't forgive manipulation. Every new post brought a wave of hate and mockery. Her empire of lies was crumbling in real time. I watched quietly, never commenting, never gloating. She didn't deserve my words, only my silence. Still, I wasn't done. She had taken so much from me. My peace, my reputation, my dignity. I wanted her to feel the same exposure she forced on me. So I went deeper. I reached out to her parents, politely and calmly. They had always been kind to me, unaware of who their daughter really was. We met at a quiet cafe. I showed them the evidence, the files, the live stream, the financial documents. Her mother cried. Her father sat in silence, jaw clenched, ashamed. "This isn't the daughter we raised," her mother whispered. "No," I said softly. "This is the woman she chose to become." They promised to talk to her, to help her find herself again. But I wasn't looking for redemption. I was looking for accountability. 2 days later, Chloe posted a story about family betrayal. She blamed her parents, claimed they'd turned against her. Then she ranted about me, the vindictive ex who couldn't let go. It was almost funny. Even in ruin, she refused to take responsibility. She painted herself as a victim to anyone who'd listen. But fewer and fewer people were listening. Her voice was losing power. Her tears didn't sell sympathy anymore. So I turned to her new life, her rebound relationship. She had started dating a guy named Derek, a car salesman with a nice smile. I felt bad for him. He had no idea who she really was. I sent him a simple message. "I don't know you, but you deserve the truth. Here, what she did to me." Attached were screenshots, her spreadsheets, her notes, her messages. 3 days later, she posted another meltdown online. Derek was gone. She screamed about being haunted by her past. No, Chloe. You're haunted by your own choices. Her posts became desperate, angry, unfocused. She lashed out at everyone, fans, friends, even strangers. The girl who once built her image on confidence now looked broken. Her followers dropped below 2,000. The sponsors stopped replying. The gym where she worked part-time cut her hours. She had built her world on attention, and now attention was her punishment. Every look she got in public carried judgment. Every whisper was her name tied to disgrace. And still, I wasn't finished. Because Chloe thought this was about money or heartbreak. But this wasn't revenge anymore. This was balance. She turned love into a transaction. Now she was paying the full price, one consequence at a time. 3 months had passed since the live stream. Chloe had vanished from most social circles. Her face no longer appeared on brand pages or gym posters. But I knew her pride wouldn't let her disappear quietly. She was still trying to rebuild. Her posts turned emotional, full of fake humility and redemption talk. She said she'd learned from her mistakes. People started to believe her again. For a moment, it looked like she might crawl back from the ashes. That was when I decided to end it completely. I had one last set of evidence, her private notes. The ones she never meant for anyone to see. Detailed entries about how to secure emotional control over me. Plans to manipulate, timelines for fake affection, lists of weaknesses. It wasn't impulsive greed. It was premeditated cruelty. I gathered it all into a single folder titled, "The Truth About Chloe Bennett." Then I created a website. Clean, professional, factual. No insults, no drama, just her words, screenshots, and timestamps. I uploaded everything. Then I bought targeted ads under her name. Anyone searching for Chloe Bennett Fitness would see my site first. It was brutal, but it was honest. Within hours, her world started collapsing again. People flooded the comments on her social media. They quoted her notes. They asked how long she'd been lying. She tried to fight back, claiming defamation and harassment. But every file was hers, untouched, verified. The internet didn't need my side of the story anymore. They had hers, in her own handwriting. Her redemption arc turned into a second downfall. Videos, threads, and memes spread everywhere. Chloe Bennett, the girl who monetized manipulation. Her name became a warning, not an inspiration. She deleted comments, blocked accounts, begged for mercy. But you can't delete the truth once it's everywhere. Her remaining sponsors cut ties. Her gym fired her quietly. Even her old friends unfollowed her out of shame. I didn't post or comment. I just watched it all unfold. Every step of her destruction was precise and inevitable. For years, she had studied me, learning how to control and exploit. Now she was learning how it felt to be studied and exposed. The irony was poetic. Her own obsession with image had become her executioner. I received messages from strangers thanking me for revealing her. They said she'd scammed others before. It wasn't just me she'd hurt. She had built a pattern, and now it was documented forever. At last, she deleted her Instagram account entirely. No tearful goodbye, no statement, just silence. I sat in my apartment, the glow of the monitor fading. Her website was still open on my screen, proof of what she'd done. For the first time, I felt peace instead of anger. Justice didn't always come from a courtroom. Sometimes it came from the truth, displayed in plain sight. 6 months passed before I heard from Chloe again. Her name had faded from the internet, replaced by silence and shame. Then one morning, an email arrived from her old address. She begged me to meet, said she had something important to tell me. I agreed, not out of curiosity but closure. We met at a small cafe across town, quiet and dim. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Her hair was dull, her eyes hollow, her smile forced. She looked like someone who'd aged 10 years in 6 months. "Ethan," she whispered, sitting across from me. "Thank you for coming. I need you to listen." I said nothing. She took a shaky breath, eyes glistening with tears. "I'm pregnant," she said softly. "It's yours." I leaned back, calm and unreadable. "Congratulations," I said. "Who's the father?" She froze, color draining from her face. "I told you it's yours," she stammered. I pulled out a folded document from my jacket. "My medical records," I said quietly. "They show something you didn't know. We're not genetically compatible." Her lips trembled. "You're lying," she whispered. "No," I said, "but you are." I slid another paper across the table. It was a screenshot from her hidden folder named Backup Plans. She stared at it, her hands shaking. Option A, convince him it was all a misunderstanding. Option B, accuse him of financial abuse. Option C, get pregnant to keep him tied. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I watched her crumble in silence. "You had contingency plans for being caught," I said. "You wrote strategies for lying, for pretending, for trapping." Tears streamed down her face. "I never meant for it to go this far," she sobbed. "I really loved you." "No," I said calmly. "You loved control. You loved what I could give you." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Do you want to know why I destroyed your life?" I asked. "It wasn't because you hurt my feelings. It was because you're a predator." Her eyes widened, disbelief mixing with guilt. "You studied me like a mark. You built a plan to drain me." "That's not love, Chloe. That's cruelty dressed as affection." She buried her face in her hands, trembling. "I can change," she cried. "I can be better." You had 3 years to be better, I replied. And you chose to be worse. I stood, ready to leave. She looked up one last time, broken and desperate. Please, Ethan, don't walk away. I paused, meeting her eyes. You already walked away the moment you decided to betray me. I turned and left the cafe. Outside, the air was cold but clean. For the first time in years, I felt free. Behind me, her sobs faded into the noise of the city. Her lies had finally ended. And so had my story with her. Weeks later, I heard she left town. No goodbye posts. No explanations. Just silence. She moved back with her parents, working under a different name. The girl who once lived online now hid from the world she built. Sometimes people asked if I regretted what I did. I didn't. Because truth isn't revenge. It's consequence. She turned love into strategy, and I turned her lies into evidence. Justice doesn't always wear a robe or hold a gavel. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and devastatingly precise. I never saw her again after that day. But sometimes, when I pass that cafe, I remember her face. The fear. The disbelief. The moment she realized the game was over. She taught me what manipulation looks like behind a smile. And I taught her what happens when you underestimate the wrong person. I walked away with my peace. She walked away with her guilt. And somewhere between those two paths, balance was restored. The story didn't end with love or forgiveness. It ended with truth. And that was enough.